So we are here today at the Beaver 35th Annual Beaver Homecoming Rally, and we're lucky enough to have Bob Tiffin here, and we have some Tiffin coaches. Since we don't build beavers anymore, the goal is to get all these folks into a Tiffin coach. We have a few questions that have come from the group and the staff, and I'm sure you've been asked all these 12 questions before, but what makes Tiffin Motorhomes unique?
Well, I think Tiffin is unique because we're a family company. We build about 3,000 coaches a year, and we have 7 family members that are working at 3 locations. And 4 at the main plant, and Van Lee RV is the president and operator of Van Lee RV, the fifth wheel company, and the Class C company. My oldest grandson from my oldest son Tim, Trent Tiffin, is operating this Class C plant. So I think it makes it unique. And another unique feature of our company is that I was raised in a retail lumber yard with my dad. And he started his business in 1941. And he was the oldest whirlpool dealer in Alabama. Wow. And I got to grow up operating at the store with him from early on and watching him service whirlpool appliances. And I learned a lot from that, and also, believe it or not, from well pumps. We had exclusive Wayne pump franchise there in Red Bay, Alabama, and back then we didn't have community water systems, and all the farmers and ranchers in our part of the country had to have their own water system. And so we sold this unique pump called Wayne, made in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And you know, if you really want to get somebody riled up, you let a chicken farmer with 50 or 100,000 chickens run out of water, and you're his only supplier of his water pump. I tell you right now, that was trying times. That taught me a lot about service and motorhomes. So if you only get an RV on a real mad, you let him pay $300,000 or $400,000 for a motorhome and keep it 2 weeks, and then he breaks down. I feel it. I feel for everybody in this RV industry that has trouble, and that's one reason we have 250 people working in our service department, and we've got 56 bays, and we've got 110 technicians, and we ship anywhere from around 1,500 to 1,600 parts orders a week. We are going to take care of our customers. That makes us unique. We feel the urgency.
And I've heard a lot of stories from clients. I sold Tiffin coaches from 1995 to 2000 up in Washington, and I heard a lot of stories from clients. But the door signings.
Yes, I signed doors for people. I went back over to Ben this morning and signed the club president that just had started. I can't remember his name, but he was really, him and his wife, I met them, and they've got a motorhome that was pre-owned that this looks brand new. Yeah. And I signed his door. You know, I don't mind doing that. If someone wants to send me a door, I'll sign it and send it back to them. Or if they want to come by the factory, and I'll signed everything you had in inventory. You didn't know it.
Yeah, I know. We actually had a last year when you were here and you signed everything in inventory. Our detailers, or our gentleman that was walking through the coach doing a PDI, he wrote on the write-up that there was graffiti on the back of the door.
That's first.
So we have that write-up that'll stay with that coach. I thought that was pretty good.
That's pretty neat.
I shared last night, I had my own story that at the FMCA show, again, I sold Tiffin from mid-90s to 2000, and at the FMCA show in Maine, Ron Estes and Ron had never met you, and so I introduced you to him in that basement. I don't know if you remember that or not, in the basement of this pub or some kind of a restaurant in Maine, and I introduced myself. You talked to a lot of people, and then also to Ron, and Ron had never met you before, and so we sat down and had our meal. We went to pay, and our meal was paid for, and you had bought our lunch, and we had the chance to thank you last night finally after 17 years for that. I appreciate it. But it's the little things you do that people remember for years and years. I mean, you never know. Convince us on why we should road trip to Alabama.
Well, if someone is spending as much money for a new Allegro bus or a Zephyr or even a Phaeton or Allegro Red, any motorhome we build now is expensive. They didn't used to be. You know, when I first started building motorhomes, the our little motorhome retail for $7,500, and the big motorhome, which was a 25-footer, retail for $9,500. So they have extremely escalated through the years. But if you spend as much money for one of our motorhomes as you want to spend, it's nice to see how it's put together.
Yeah.
And so we offer that opportunity. And sometime during the lifetime of an RV that we build, a leg roll bus or a Phaeton or leg roll rig, whatever it is, it makes its way to Red Bay. And for that very purpose, we have a factory tour every day at 9:30, Monday through Friday, every day we work. And you can go in the service department down there, and the guys will put you into service. And if you've got a little something wrong, they can fix it. We have two types of service. We offer the full service, which we have 25 days out of 56 that we do full service in. And then we have 12 days that we do express service, which is a 3-hour limit, where we can do a lot of work. 2 techs works in each one of those 3-hour bays at express, and they can knock out a lot of problems just in the 3 hours. And so, I recommend, if your motorhome is 5-6 years old, come a couple of times a year and go through the express. And, you can keep it running good, especially if you're in the eastern part of the country or if you're out there vacationing. So, don't pass up the opportunity to come by and see how your motorhome is built. You'll be pleasantly surprised of how we put it together.
I've been in a lot of RV factories, and I was very impressed. We were there a couple years ago. I was very impressed. It was neat to see a real factory where there's sawdust and dirt and people building something, not just assembling something. I thought that was very cool. Do you travel often in a coach?
Well, we usually go a couple of times a year, and this is one of our extended trips, you might say. We start this summer trip every year in Napa, California, and we stay there 3 or 4 days, and then we drive to Redmond and stay a couple of days, and then we come up here to Bend, Beaver Coach Sales. We stay here usually about a week or a week and a half, and we stay in a motorhome every night. Last year we stayed 17 nights in one,
Wow.
and this year we're going to stay probably 21 or 22 nights in it. And we usually stay in a Phaeton or leg roll bus, whatever is handy, we'll take. And of course, we take some shorter trips. Usually sometimes we'll go down and see Alabama play football. It's only 120 miles from our house to Tuscaloosa. And, that weekend deal is a good example of what a motorhome can perform. You get to drive 120 miles there and 120 miles back, and then stay in it 2 nights at the game, and you can just see how they perform. Of course, we all use them. Van and Tim and Lex all build them a motorhome to go to football games in the fall, and they use them the same way.
Jody and I are in a 1845 OPP, and we took it down to Palm Springs, left it down there for the winter, and flew back and forth a few times. And I've never, ever had so many compliments on a color of a coach in my life. We've had to move to 3 different spots in the park, and there was folks that came and tracked me down and said, I was so worried because I wanted to come look at your coach, but I saw you were gone, and then I noticed you were in another spot, and then when you left there I thought you were gone for sure, and then we showed up. We had to leave for a couple days, go to another rally, and then we came back to a 3rd spot, and they tracked us down. So many people knew exactly what space number we were on in that park, couldn't wait to come in and see that coach. But I've never had so many compliments on a color as in that smoky teal.
Yeah, that's a great color.
Yeah. Let's see. We were going back to funny stories. Do you have any funny stories while you're traveling? Somebody wants to hear funny stuff.
Well, I don't know. Not real funny. I deal with serious stuff.
Yeah.
When people have serious problems, I deal with it. But one funny story that I can remember happening at the plant. This guy came into the plant, and back in the day when we had a unique wiper switch on the dash. It was a little round knob, and the outside of it, you turned it on and off, and then you had to turn the inside of the switch.
I remember that one.
To make the wipers work. And now you can make them work if you just press the washer button. If you just press that button, it would work one time and wash the windshield. Well, this guy came in and he said, I am just wore out. I said, what do you mean? He said, I've drove 4 or 5 hours to get here. And he said, it's rained every step of the way. And he said, the only way I could make my wipers work was just press that button. He said, I pressed that button all the way here. So I went out there and I said, now this is what you got to do. Did the dealer not show you how to do this? You just turn this knob. He said, oh no. So that was sort of a funny story.
Here's a question. How's your relationship been with Beaver Coach Sales?
Well, it's been the best. Since you had experience with us since way back,
Yeah.
You knew what to expect.
Yeah.
And you have a great service department. And these guys that used to work at Beaver Manufacturing Company when they built motorhomes here, they know what to do. And you have a unique situation. It's very similar to what we have in Redmond.
Yeah.
We have the guys that work on in the 110 techs that we have working there. They've either worked in the service department for all these years, or they worked in production, and we took them from the production right into the service. So you have the same situation here, and it's great. And we've had a great relationship with Beaver, and all the guys here. They know what they're doing, and that makes a big difference.
Yeah, we just need to get some of our older guys now to train the younger guys up and keep that mentality going on. Some of them are getting up in their 50s now, and so we got to get everything we can out of their heads and train these young guys up. What words of wisdom would you have for the Rally members?
Well, the biggest words of wisdom is we're all getting a little older. And my wisdom would be to them not to pass up opportunities to purchase a new motorhome if they ever have the idea to buy one. Because, I've seen people come to these rallies and I wouldn't see them for a while. And then I'd ask their friends that I got acquainted with what happened, and they got sick, or they got incapacitated, so they couldn't operate. So if you're thinking about purchasing a motorhome, there's no time better than now. And I know that sounds like a sales pitch, but it is the truth when you get in your 70s. I know, because I have seen it happen. That's my words of wisdom to these owners, right? And I looked around last night at them, and they just looked like my customers. I say every day, they got a lot of white hair, like me.
Life's shorter than you think. Go live it.
It sure is.
If you could give any business tips, what would it be?
Well, the best business tip I could give anyone is always do exactly what you say. If you promise something, no matter what it costs, fulfill that obligation. And that's what we've done at Tiffin Motorhomes. We write a statement about what we'll do, and we do it.
Well, that's good. What do you feel is your biggest achievement?
Well, I guess the biggest achievement that we've done since 1972, when we started, is to be able to stay in business. We have weathered 3 major downturns in our industry, one in 79 through 82, and one 1973 through 74 and part of 75, and this last one that was in 08, 9, and 10. And my dad was responsible for that, for us to weather it, because he grew up during the Depression, and he went back. In fact, he went in business in 1934 with his brother-in-law. And I said, Dad, why in the world did you go in business right in the middle of the worst time of the economic of our country we've ever known?
Wow.
He said, Bob, if you grab a hoe every day and you're chopping cotton and plying a mule, he said anything is better than that. So so he went business with his brother-in-law in 1934, and when I started working there in 1958 at our store at the lumber yard there, he talked about the Depression all the time. He liked to scare me to death. So I knew hard times were coming.
Yeah.
And so we just, we didn't get our dealers overloaded with inventory. We didn't get obligated at the banks.
Yeah.
And so when bad times come, all you do is slow down. You don't keep building inventory. You just slow down. And so we've got a plan and sort of a formula for what we're going to do. We know how many motorhomes we want to have our dealers have in inventory, and then we know how many we need to build. Yeah. And of course, through the years, we've learned not to build anything that's not sold. So that's the best wisdom I can give anyone.
Well, it's interesting. You, I'm sure, don't remember this call, but when the old partnership at Beaver Coach Sales, there were 6 of us partners, and Chris Jackson and I one day, it was I believe in 2008, we called you and introduced ourselves, and you'd weathered some storms, and we weren't even a dealer, and you took the time to talk to us about the ups and downs of the industry, and you'd been through it before, and you mentioned just that. Dealers that order 10 coaches, you'd send them 6. They'd order 20, you'd send them 12. And controlling the inventory, and because Chris and I were trying to figure out what are we going to do with our business, or how are we going to come out of this thing, and looking for some advice, and you didn't know us from Adam at that point, and it was helpful. I mean, we made it through. A lot of dealers didn't.
Oh yes.
And I'm sure it'll come again.
Oh yes, it's just a matter of time. we have business cycles, and in those cycles, whether it's the energy cycle or where it's the interest rate cycle or where it's a plain old economy cycle, we're going to have it someday or another one, and of course we'll be right back in the same position. We won't be overextended.
So is Tiffin foot on the gas right now for the economy, or are you?
Well, we're just holding steady. I think the economy is really good right now. And 13 units a day and 2 wayfarers a day and 3 of the Bilanos a day, the 5th wheels a day is about right. See, that's almost 100 coaches altogether a week. Well, that's 5,000 a year. You know, that's a pretty good. And of course, our boys that builds Lee that builds the 5th wheel and Trent that builds the Class C, they understand it too. I've preached the gospel to them long and hard.
That's good. What is it that you're most proud of with your business?
Well, I guess I'm most proud of our family because, you know, there's not many families that can get along and have 7 family members operating in one business, one name, and make it through. And you know, my dad was responsible for that. He made us get along. I've got a brother and a sister, and we have never had any kind of dissension in our family.
Oh, that's cool.
And of course, we had some business people down the street from us when we had the lumber yard there in Red Bay, and they fought and fussed and fumed all the time. They could not, any of those members, get along. Well, needless to say, they didn't make it.
Yeah.
You know, that's just the way it is. You know, customers pick up on that.
Oh, absolutely.
And so, you know, if everybody speaks the same thing and they do the same thing and they march at the same rhythm, you know, the business is going to go. And so that's what we do from the service department all the way through the manufacturing process.
So how many employees do you have right there in Red Bay?
Well, at our business there in Red Bay, where we assemble the motorhomes and the paint shop, we have 1,600 employees there. And then we have at the fiberglass plant, we have 2 fiberglass plants, and they have between them they have about 130 employees there. And at the window plant, where we build all of our windows, we have 60 employees. So did
they have to drive quite a distance to get there?
We get our employees at the assembly plant and at Belmont there, where we paint in 4 counties. We get 2 counties. We draw employees from Tishomingo County, Netherlands County, Mississippi, and Franklin County and Marion County, Alabama, and they all like to work there. You know, it's a real good work environment. Everybody gets along. We don't have any yang. You know, even the supervisors and the plant manager. You know, they understand.
Yeah.
That you can't build what we're building if everybody's going one way and everybody's going the other way. Everybody has to get along, and everybody has to understand that it's the customer-driven company.
Yeah. So do you know what the population is of those 4 counties?
Well, Tishomingo County has about 14,000, and Netherlands County has about 16,000. Franklin County has 18,000, and Marion County has about 20,000.
So there's no excuse for not finding good help in a small area.
Yes, and it's a good work environment.
Wow.
It's northeast Mississippi and northwest Alabama. Those 2 counties up there.
That is crazy. So over the years, the percentage of people that live in Red Bay or vicinity, they either have worked at Tiffin or they knew somebody that's worked there.
We have family members that's worked there. We've had 3 generations working there. See, when I first started in 1972, some of those folks, you know, their sons worked there, and now their sons are working there. So we've had several. In fact, we had last year we had 8 guys that worked there 40 years. And we have a lot of people that's worked 25 and 30 years there. Now every year we have a little celebration with the older workers, and it's amazing how many people show up.
So do you guys have posted core values, mission, vision statement, anything like that?
We don't have anything much. We've done a little of that through the years, but you know, everybody that comes there understands what we do and understands that it's a customer-driven product that we're building, and you know, they understand that it's expensive and the customers, that you know, their expectations are high, and so that's what we build by.
Every business has core values. It's just not always posted, but you guys are certainly poster child for core values. I mean, it's incredible. We rarely hear negative about your Tiffin product, and the way the company's run. Any questions from the gallery?
Yes. What does the RV lifestyle mean to you, Bob?
Well, it means that people can extend their life together. You know, we see so many people that come in my office and they say, you know, this motorhome has saved our marriage, has saved our life. You know, we sat down at the house and one day we decided to go down to the RV show. And we had a couple of friends that were traveling across the country, and we can't believe how it's rejuvenated us, you know, through the years. And we just feel so much better out here traveling along. And you know, we even sometimes when we get to the house, we just go to bed in our motorhome and spend the first night in the motorhome before we go in the house. And I can't tell you how many stories I've heard like that through the years.
For me, I'd say freedom. You know, it's interesting. I just had a conversation with some folks about an hour ago, and they bought several coaches from us. I think the first coach I sold them was a 99. And they've had some health issues along the way. And it gets down to, like what I said earlier, life's shorter than you think, go live it. But the bigger thing is, and it doesn't make sense to buy one of these big coaches. You go to an accountant and talk to them about, they're going to tell you you're crazy. There's two reasons you do it, because you can and you want to. And that's every person in this room that's been at this rally. They do it because they can and they want to. And the thing that I love about it is you have your refrigerator and your toilet and your closet and your stuff. And I can't tell you how many times, because we drive, usually we're in a hurry to get to a rally, we'll drive till real late, pull into a Walmart or off we have our favorite stops depending on where we're going. And sometimes I wake up in the morning and I open my eyes and I'm like, I don't know, where are we? Oh yeah, okay, I know where we're at. Harris Ranch in the parking lot or whatever. You forget where you are. You wake up, you have to sometimes look out the window and know where you're at. And I love that. Just that whole nomad adventurous thing. And I think we all have that within us, and this whole RV brings it out.
My advice to the younger generation is get a mentor that's been in business, that's been really successful, and follow his footsteps and interview him if you can. That's what I did. You know, I did exactly what my dad did. And you know, our business plan was never written. We didn't have anything written down. We just knew how to treat people. And if you do that, you can't go wrong no matter what.
I think I have a mentor, a business mentor. You probably see him in the dealership. Every Thursday I meet with a guy, and he's been a great mentor, and we'll continue to meet as long as we can. I agree with that. And I think for the younger generation, just get up and go to work and don't whine about it. It's not going to be fair.
Thank you. I will.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You bet.
All right. Thank you very much, Bob.
Yes, I appreciate it. Good to talk to you.
And we'll get this out there, and lots of people will see it.